All right, welcome to another edition of the Secret Livestream. Let's just get this going. I'm going to bring in my good friend Dustin White, who does this with me. Dustin, how you doing?
Sorry, Eve wanted an evil laugh, so there you go, Eve.
Okay, there it is.
What's up? Good to see you.
So I'm gonna just preface this with I'm having some airline complications tonight with a friend of mine who's flying in. So I have my phone here, and there may be some point where Dustin will have to take over for a few minutes, but we'll hoping everything goes just fine. So today was a big day in the secret. We will address the elephant in the room here very shortly, but the first thing I wanted to do is show you what Hermann Park looks like recently. And I want to send my thoughts and prayers down to everyone in Houston and in Texas in general, especially Willhouse and Deb and your whole family, and Houston, Texas, Dave, and all those guys down in that area that were just hit so terribly with this snowstorm, and then a power outage, and then some people had pipes exploded, and all kinds of just terrible stuff has happened. So our thoughts and prayers are with you guys down there, and hopefully, man, it's a tough place to live, Houston, with all the hurricanes and now this. But you're tough down there. I'm sure you'll recover, and our thoughts are with you for sure.
Yeah, it's been rough down there, man. I know some people have had to melt snow to have water.
Yeah, like camping and stuff. So hopefully things will get back to normal soon. I read something about Texas having some kind of independent power grid, and I don't know. I just really hope my friends are okay. That's the main thing. So yeah, and another point of interest about Houston, referring to the puzzle, this statue is no longer there. So that's a statue in Sam Houston Park of the, what is it, the Confederate something?
Spirit of the Confederacy. Yeah.
Spirit of the Confederacy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been removed.
Taken down lately, yep.
Yes, it's been canceled. And for those of you who feel that was a part of the Houston puzzle, at least we have some well-documented photos of it, and photos of the spout in the pond there. And of course, this is for all the people who apply the painting or the image to look like Tranquility Park. There's the way I've lined it up the best with as far as the perspective, with the three in the back, the one short one on the right, the two in the middle, and then to the left would be that small, that other one that's on another level there.
It's pretty convincing too.
Well, yeah, there's several theories, and that's exactly why you made all those groups. Somebody sent me a message after the last live stream we did and said, I think it was Forrest Blight. He says, wow, there's 738 new groups.
Mm-hmm. Something like that. Yeah, they're filling in. There's not much going on in them yet, but give them a month or two, things will start percolating.
I see. I was, I'm in the Milwaukee groups that you have helping out there, and I see that there is some action with people signing up, and there's been a little conversation so far. So yeah. These things take time, obviously. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, well, we'll see where they are. If they provide like no help to anybody, then we can get rid of them. But I've already found some like help, I think, with Chinatown in San Francisco. Like there's a lot of good conversation going on there. We need more, so join up and join the conversation.
Join in the conversation. Yeah, that's right. So let's get to addressing the elephant in the room. There was a PBS special today that I was on, and a number of other people were on. James, Brian, and Rob, and some others. Anyway, so the big question that's come from that short student-made documentary was, where did these glasses come from? Brian Zinn, I've never seen him wear these. Must be some new edition. I'm going to start calling him Mr. Miami now. Those glasses. Look at this hair. Look at his hair is absolutely perfect. They must have caught him at work.
It's like
Brian, we
he's
love you.
channeling Byron Price there.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. So no, the real elephant in the room is, of course, my speech about the. It was almost like a hit piece by the producer. He puts me in there talking about the fact that the 13th cask is the prototype, and then immediately puts Joe Ellen on to say that there's no prototype. So
I don't think I think it might have been just they probably didn't even know what they were doing. Like I think it's probably an honest thing. You know, they weren't trying to like make you be wrong or whatever.
no, I don't think it was intentional to make me look bad, but it certainly a heads up would have been nice. So what I've learned with these things is the best thing to do is address them directly and right away. And this is the explanation for all of that. And if you listen to the secret podcast I did with Joe Ellen, you'll notice that we ask her a lot of stuff, and she doesn't. At that point in time, she didn't really remember a whole lot of what was going on. And of course, her and I and other people have been having conversations with her over the last few years. There was the whole hoax that happened in San Francisco, and we were in contact then. And she's become sort of a friend over the years. So we email each other from time to time and just talk about stuff. And so what I think has happened is over the years, and after Boston and after San Francisco, she's starting to remember some of the stuff, because I would always talk to her about, oh, well, what happened back then? How did it go? So I'm hoping through conversations with Ben and maybe John and myself and other people that she's kind of remembering what happened, because I've asked her about that making of the cask, the prototype thing, a few times, and it was never really a clear story. And when we got the cask from her, we noticed that the detail was much more intense than Rob's. And I don't know if that's just because it was kept better, or I don't know what the reason is, but the detail was pretty exquisite on the unpainted cask. Matter of fact, I think you can see, I have a picture here. That was the lid when we got it, and it's extremely detailed. Like it's not as the lines on Rob's are not as sharp. Still there, but not as sharp. So and plus it was this clay colored. It didn't look white at all. So we had surmised, and I had asked Joanne a few times, "Do you think this is the prototype?" And she's like, "It could be." So anyway, we went with that, and that's how we sold it. Now, this was news to me when she talked about how it. When she talked about how it how the prototype actually came to be, and so there's some things we can take away from this. Now, the tribute cask was buried in a half-inch thick plexiglass box with foam padding. And supposedly watertight, and obviously water got in somehow. And when I pulled that cask out, there was mold on it. Some of the cask was visibly malleable. Actually, there's one thing on the underside of the lid where you can see where the top of the lid was kind of pushing down. And there's a little bevel there that wasn't there when it was painted. So I started thinking about this, Dustin, and I'm thinking about Byron's cask, those originals, which apparently are the same as the one I have now, being buried in a 1/4-inch plexiglass box with just a piece of tissue or a piece of foam on the top, and then being there for 40 years. Rob's was relatively undamaged because he had got it maybe a year or two after it was buried. But I was extremely surprised at how quickly that it could be ruined under the wrong circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
So Boston, you saw some of the first pictures of the Boston cask, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that seemed to be pretty much intact, but now we know that it was buried on a ball field, which doesn't really, you're not going to get a whole lot of flooding there. I mean, it's sand, right? It's rocky
Not
sand.
a lot
Anyway,
changed there either. Nobody's messing with the dirt. It's it's just a ball field kids play on every year.
Right. I'm no geologist, and I don't know any of this stuff for a fact. This is all just my assumption, but um, I'm thinking that some of these that might be in wetter places or places that have more climate change, which could cause dew or something or to form inside the box. There might be some trouble with those. I mean, and especially places like Wisconsin that have a ton of snow. You know, the Grand Park one was a surprise. I mean, even a year in the ground can really ruin one of these things under the wrong circumstances. So,
I don't know. When you look at Boston, they get lots of snow too. Not as
yeah,
much as Wisconsin, but I mean that ball field's been covered in snow. It's been it'll seep down
right.
and cover that box. At times. I don't know. So you and I have both held Rob's cask and the box.
Yeah.
The plexiglass container. Like when I held it, I expected it, from being so old, to be a little rickety. Like you move it around a little bit and it would just kind of creak back and forth. No, that thing was extremely solid, even after all these years.
Yeah, it has, from what I remember, I think it has silicone going around the,
Mhm.
piecing it together, or maybe it was groove locked together and then also siliconed or something. But
Yeah, I just find it like extremely sturdy. Like I was really surprised. I was not expecting that.
I couldn't even get my box open when I pulled it out
Yeah,
of the ground.
I know. I remember the
And
video.
yeah. So I guess the moral of the story is, regardless, the tribute cask is safe and in one piece and still looks good. Um, and it's not the prototype. So I'm sorry if I misled people, but it wasn't intentional. Um, it's a cask nonetheless. So, and it is painted beautifully.
You know what? It's still the 13th buried cask.
So we think, yes. There are those out there who feel that Byron might have buried a 13th as well.
I mean, there's some good clues in the book that would indicate so. I have a hard time believing it without a 13th image to decipher. And what are they going to do? Pull a line out of each of the verses? I mean, maybe. I've heard that theory too.
Right. So let me look for questions here and see if we can take a few before we get going. And I do like the fact that the renegade style of this show, where we just kind of do these pop-up shows with not a whole lot of notice. And I kind of like that because um, it keeps people on their toes. It keeps people looking in the groups and checking up on things. Things can tend to get a little stagnant in the community, but there are people who are constantly vigilant about looking out for stuff. I know Forest Blight's one of those guys and a few others. So these kind of things cater to them, where it's like, oh, something's happening. I thought it'd be appropriate, obviously, tonight to address the PBS thing. Here, what do we have?
Otherwise, like watching James Renner there, man, I think Lake Park's going to hate that guy.
Yeah, that was a pretty bold statement that he made. I don't know. I wonder if he told Kit that he was going to say that, but I was too busy watching his cat walk by. Oh, gonna have to ignore that one. All right.
Okay.
So, apologies for these interruptions. You can blame
It's all-
American Airlines. Facebook user is back.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Do I think? Can I give an official statement on the pairings? Do I think they're paired correctly? For the most part, I do. There's a lot of people who have different ideas, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think the best thing that you can do if you have an alternate opinion, and Dustin will agree with me, is show some proof. Show how and why that you feel it is that way. I know that at one point we had used the Montreal verse for what's typically associated as the Montreal verse with New Orleans, and it had a location right in City Park by the Dueling Oaks, which made a whole lot of sense. There was a white stone there and everything. So yeah, it's good to kind of do that, but if you do it, you want to show some proof that isn't proof that you're making up to make your theory right. You need to show some kind of solid proof, like image matches and verse directions on the ground and stuff like that.
So hey, we're talking about Houston here, like
yes.
right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Houston, if I'm thinking about the Houston puzzle and what people have been looking at, trying to pair verse 1 with it forever, that's great. And it makes a lot of sense, especially in Hermann Park or anywhere in that vicinity.
Right.
But when you think about that image and you think about the verse that has number 982 in it, I mean, why would you use that verse in a place like Tranquility Park? Why would you use I don't know, like, can you link or why would you go that far away from the park using the verse that mentions the train that you think is in the other park? It's just
right. The train is the 982, but there could be other 982s that would apply to a different area, such as an address,
or different city and state.
Oh no, in Houston.
Yeah.
I think there was a 982. There was a 982 address that linked up somewhere with Tranquility Park or Houston Park. But anyway, those are great ways to think about it, because as we all know, we thought Boston had to be somewhere in Charlesgate, or it was in Mother's Rest, or all that, and where it ended up being was completely out of left field. Well, not for some, but it was one of those. It was one of those alternate theories that people were
personally, like, if I'm being true, I think maybe between 2 and 4% of people thought it was up in that area. Like, not very many.
Well, here's a comment. 982 is a month and a year. Could be, but and if that's the case, you gotta apply it somehow. You gotta show what happened on that month in 82 and how does it relate to where you're looking and stuff like that. Jim Schneider had a question.
Okay.
Sunset Trail, did you specifically place reverb on a few words in the audio? Blah, blah, blah. That's a great question. Let's see, what other questions do we have here? Oh yeah, the Herman Melville quote. There's a lot of evidence that points to the zoo, Hermann Park, the zoo. But there's a lot of evidence that points to Sam Houston as well. So, and just as a person. And then you find the park named after him right next door to Tranquility Park and that whole area. So, I was onto this years ago and I put it out there to a lot of people, and it's getting more traction now, which is great. It's good to just push the boundaries that you're in and try and look, because you might find something new, and that's usually what happens. I'm going to give this one to you, Dustin. Lisa, our friend Lisa.
What's up, Lisa? Oh, you want me to read it?
Oh, I think everybody can read it. I don't know why I keep reading it. You can see it. The audience can see it.
Yeah. Let's see. So it says, do you think Byron perhaps deliberately made clues that might apply to more than one park to send people in the wrong direction? There's not really a lot of lines there, but maybe. I don't think so. I think he's trying to get you to a specific spot, right?
Yeah. He's got to get you. He's got to get you from your chair in your house to a city, to a park, and to a burial ground. So you got to think, how is he doing that?
Yeah. Like, okay, so we were talking about Tranquility Park a little bit. My wife, she likes Tranquility Park, but she likes it with a different verse. She'll use verse 5 because toward the end of the verse, it says white stone closest. And if you're thinking about the earth, what's the closest white stone? Is the moon. Tranquility base.
Oh, that's an interesting way to think about it.
And it just makes you, because like, why would you use, like, the only reason, or like the main reason that you use verse 1 is because the 982, and the 982 train isn't at Tranquility Park. It's not at Sam Houston Park.
Right. Well, then you have the Glassell, the Glassell Museum, Cold as Glass, and some other things that are right in that area by Hermann Park. So it's really hard to get away from that area. But the same thing with Milwaukee. It's really hard to get away from Lake Park too, because of just certain confirmers that are there. And obviously what James said today.
Yeah, well, that's going to go down. There's going to be a lot of holes in Lake Park, I think.
Yeah, well, there's I've been, I've been saying that it's by one of those lines for years. There's 8 of them, and there's 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 two sides on each lion that you can dig on, and there's a third on one of them, and you got to know which one it is. You know, I've always believed it's by one of those lions, and when it's found, I'm putting my money that that's where it's going to be found. But we'll see. You know.
Yep, I think it's there too. All right, so we got this this painting, right?
Yep. I
Right.
guess I should have uploaded that.
That's all right. Have you seen
Yes.
the Masonic tracing table? Our friend
Right.
Jim in the chat's probably pretty familiar with that. Yeah, so I mean, like, that looks like okay, so this is called a Masonic tracing table, right?
Right.
So Masonic tracing. It looks like Palancar kind of traced the whatever the puzzle was going to be with the tracing table. But you know, if you look at all three of these and Hermann Park lined up with it, I mean, that's pretty convincing to me. How if you had an aerial shot of Hermann Park, if that's one of the things that he gave to Palancar when he was making the painting. So
Right, and that's also been attributed to the Persepolis, right? Did I say that right?
I think so.
My Greek is a little off. About the what is it? The room with 100 columns or something like that.
Something like that. I remember.
There's an.
I don't know much about it.
Kit Palancar has an interesting story, and you can ask him. I'm not going to say it, but he'll tell you an interesting story about the Dariouche winery out in California. So there's some interesting stuff going on there. All right, do we got any more questions?
Yeah, I don't know. I really think that it's probably Hermann Park, but there's a lot of good reasons to look over in places like, you know, where that. So you just put up that picture of that statue, right? He's like with his arms crossed. Looks like the genie, right?
Right. Well, here's an interesting comment about that. Spirit of the Confederacy, the djinn in the painting, if you turn the painting upside down, the djinn's hat is the boat that Brownie is holding at Hermann Park Zoo, and they were made by the same sculptor. Interesting. Hey, you find something new every day.
That's cool stuff. I mean, I don't know. Your buddy Willhouse is like really certain that it was inside the zoo itself. So
yeah, he found a lot of image matches that were just dead on that led him to a certain area. And
those posts, there's like these posts, you know, that were, I don't remember what it said on it, but man, I mean, it's
they had the names of the areas. It was the North America post, I think, is the one that matched up exactly to those little notches that you see in the poles there.
Yeah. So another thing I've been really focusing on myself lately is the heritage stuff, the immigration stuff. And when you look at Houston, I mean, you don't have a park named after the like the immigrant group that I can find. I mean, how does that play in?
Well, I think Sam Houston is probably might be the immigration theme there, but yeah, that's another good thing to research. I mean, I think that that's obviously, we know that that's an important connection. And I do want to say, that there was, if you caught that PBS thing, if you tuned in early, it was almost uncanny. There were a couple of these shorts that they aired right before the secret special, and one of them was on the Oak Leaf Trail, and then the other one was on the North Point Lighthouse. Two in a row, just like that. And the interesting thing about, and I was busy doing something while it was airing, but I was just kind of overhearing things in the background. And the interesting thing about the lighthouse story was that there was some huge immigration tie-in to that lighthouse that I totally missed. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch. But if you have the capabilities of accessing that PBS stream, go back and watch those few little Milwaukee gems, as they called them, beforehand, and really check out that lighthouse thing and see what they said about immigration, because it was prominent in the story. And with, you know, those lions are right outside that lighthouse. I always assumed the cultural, the cultural connection I assumed was was Christian Wall.
Oh,
who's of German descent.
And those guys, the Packer, isn't he German descent too?
Oh, the sculptor
of the lions, I think
Packer,
so.
Yeah, possibly. He He's made a number of statues. His name is on a number of statues across the city. Patrick Cudahy down on Layton Avenue in Cudahy, he did. And I don't think he did Walcott. Somebody else did that. But yeah, that could be it. Christian Wall, the godfather of the parks, as I said on the interview, he was of German descent, and he played a big part in Lake Park. So who knows?
Yeah,
I'm just reading some of these comments.
what are they saying? I missed
well,
it.
they're paragraphs. So let's see. Oh, somebody's asking about Fort Atkinson. All right, you guys got any real questions?
Oh, man, I don't know. Are we talking about Milwaukee or Houston?
Here's Brandon.
Oh,
do you guys think that John hides new clues in his new paintings? No. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know what he said on the Josh Gates Tonight thing made you kind of think that, but I don't know that that's exactly what he was trying to say. I don't know.
Yeah, you talking about James's comment about the Russian immigrants and the book being dedicated to it?
No, I didn't. What I meant was like when Palancar was with Josh Gates on that interview show that he does. He
right.
Sit down with him virtually. And
well, knowing that guy, I don't put him past playing pranks. I'll just say that.
He does.
Out. Yeah.
No, when my wife and I met Josh Gates and we were at the park with him, Golden Gate Park, he told me that John Palancar told him or asked him if he found the lion in Charleston, because they did the Charleston filming before. And he said, yeah, did you find the statue of the lion? And he's like, what? There's a statue of the lion? And so they spent I think they spent 2 extra days in Charleston. And I think, he flipped him off or something. Like he sent him a flip off.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that picture.
It was a joke. It was just a complete joke. Like he's like, yeah, no, there's no lion. I'm just messing with you. And so I guess he's famous for kind of doing that kind of stuff. So
yeah, exactly. I think, and I do the same thing with people that I know that ask me about tribute information. I'll do the same thing and mess with them, because why are you asking me? I mean, really, you think I'm going to give something away?
Might as well send you on a wild goose chase.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think each verse mentions the dig spot location? For example, feel at home, seek the columns, fence, and fixture. What do you think?
Probably.
The treasure waits is the one in Milwaukee. There is a bench behind Walcott, but I don't see how the treasure waits would reference to being somewhere near a lion.
Yeah, well, here, let me get my book open, just so I just want to refresh my brain of that.
He's going to the book, folks.
All right, so views 3 stories of Mitchell. Down at the end, you'll see a letter from the country of Wonderstone's hearth on a proud tall fifth at its southern foot. Treasure waits. Yeah, I don't know. I think the left foot.
Do you think the letter is at the southern foot?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just something you pass along the way.
Right.
I think the letter is you're walking by the Walcott statue and you see the word post. Post
or
is
you
also
see the word country.
You see the word country. So country and letter, country post, and then move along and get up to the lions.
Right.
Because it does say proud tall fifth and pride of lions. And I do like the Leo, the lion, being the fifth zodiac.
Right.
Could be a thing. But it says at the southern foot, the treasure waits. So at the southern foot, like my wife had come up with this idea of because the lions have paws, and the south paw would be the left hand or the left paw. So off of one of the left hands or left paws would be my best guess.
Right. And then waits is another, why is that in there? Does it mean wait, like stay here for a short spell of time, or is it a word play and does it mean weights that weigh something down? Who knows?
Yeah. Too bad there isn't a statue of Atlas over there.
Yeah. Right.
That could help, but it's not
so
there.
I'm going to, there was some talk actually about the proud tall fifth. Some people were trying to figure out what the fifth was, and I think the comment that I had made online was that you could look at it as a number of ways. I look at it, if I'm looking at Walcott, I look at 1/5 of a 5-star general. If I'm looking at the Lions, I would look at the fifth Lion. You know, if there was some kind of tribute to Jack Daniels in the park, maybe that's a fifth too. I think Eve or someone was trying to apply it to musical fifths. And I said, yeah, that's a great idea if you can find something that corresponds, that really locks that in. So I think
maybe a different park in Milwaukee. Milwaukee's a real music town, right?
Well, they like to say they are. Yeah.
Well, I know.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Summerfest or whatever. You showed me that big, huge stadium. I don't remember what it's called.
Oh, the Marcus Amphitheater?
Well,
or
I don't know.
Summerfest?
Yeah, Summerfest. Yeah. So,
whatever happened to James's documentary? Never released. It got tied up by Brick Tower, and I think
John
that's
Colby didn't want to. I don't know what the real problem is, but something with James had to talk to the lawyers about something. The lawyers didn't get enough money out of it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the last time I talked to him, he just, I just asked, hey, it was right before the Christmas special that I did, because I had asked him to come on, and he said he couldn't do it, but he told me that the documentary was tied up in dispute with Brick Tower or something, and that I could, pass that along to everybody. So that's what happened with that. A few people saw it. Dustin saw it, right? You saw it.
Yeah, it's good. It's fun.
It's a fun show. Yeah, it's really fun.
It's really out of date now, because in the documentary, James and his one of the producers that he's traveling with, they sit down to try to figure out what's on the cover. They really want to figure this one out. And so they're looking at it and they're like, Pandora's box, Pandora, I don't remember if it was a meteor or what, but some kind of Pandora celestial body was discovered in Albany, New York. And so
I remember that. Yeah.
Their focus was this gal led to Albany, New York. And, so that part's really like dated, because
you have to remember when James started doing those interviews for this documentary with all the people from Quest for Treasure at the time, I think it was 2013 or 2014. So that thing was in development for quite a while. And obviously he had his true crime series and a bunch of other stuff that took off in the meantime. So, I mean, I'm glad that he just got it done. It seems like he had a pretty full plate. So,
I wish it would have been light of day.
Yeah, I hope it sees the light of day too.
I wish it did. I wish it did before this one was found. Like, that would have been the best case scenario, because it's very entertaining. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of really good information there, or not. I don't know if there's not anything that's going to help you with the hunt, but maybe. But there's like interviews with Palancar. There's interviews with Byron's wife. There's this.
Well, when I was talking with Metal Flowers Productions out in Los Angeles before the first Expedition Unknown, and I recommended to them to call James along with Brian and Andy, and I thought for sure that we would hear something about the documentary, but there's only Laverne and Shirley and IROC Z's. That's it.
Yeah, he wanted it out. Like, he's been wanting it out for a long time. It's just roadblock. The roadblock isn't his.
Right. Exactly. It's not out because of his stalling. It's out because powers to be won't let it come out. What would be your advice on trying to get the treasure, but the city has made it a crime to dig in the public parks? I don't know that any new laws about digging in parks have come out from the time that Byron buried them to now. I think that this is what I don't understand about this whole deal. And I don't mean to bring up politics, but they're public parks. By nature of what they are, they belong to the public. I would think that you could actually, now a site like the Wright Brothers Memorial, that's different, because that's federal land. That's a national park. But for public parks, I would think that you could go to court on this and say, listen, I pay taxes. I am a resident of this city. Why am I not allowed to utilize this public park the way I see fit? And I think that certain cities that, like New York, I've talked to a number of people who dig in New York, and they don't seem to have any problems with, and I think it comes down to being respectful. If you have a park where people are putting random holes in the ground, not filling them in, well, yeah, the Parks Commission is going to take issue with that, I would assume. But if you go through the right channels, listen, we didn't know the procedures for digging in the park when I first started this back in the early 2010s. I just knew I met someone here in town that had a permission slip. It was just a letter written by the local supervisor of that district for her to dig in the parks. So we would use that, and we dug, I don't know, 3-4 times, big holes too, giant, huge holes, and we replaced it. Everything was back to normal. You go to there today, and you'd never know we dug a hole. And then I just decided, after I wasn't going to haul her out for every whim that I had about where to dig. So I just decided after a while, I'm just going to start digging holes, and I'll just, I'll fill them in, but I'm not going to deal with this permission. And that's when, I think I had dug 12 or 15 holes or something over the course of a week down by that planter box down on Lincoln Memorial. And that's finally when Kevin Daly walked up to me, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And that's what led to the whole right of entry permit. So again, they're public. If it is a public park, there is a right of entry by the citizen, but you just probably have to get a permit, or there's some legal red tape you have to jump through. And certainly you can go to court on it if you feel so strongly about it. But my advice to you is to do it when no one's looking, in the dead of night, and be respectful and replace your holes, and go in like a ghost, like you've never been there. If you don't make a huge mess, if you're not causing problems, I don't think anyone's going to care. That's just my personal opinion. Don't tell the cops I told you to do it, or you can. I don't care. But it's not going to get you out of the ticket or whatever it is. And I don't think it's something that they would take you to jail for. My God, it would be a fine at the most.
Maybe at the Wright brothers, but yeah. So, hey, this is something good to chat about. So, I'm right there with you. I think that if they're not, they will never, ever, ever be found if no one digs any holes.
Right.
That's number one. All right. And so, I think you should try to get permission if you can, but, dig a hole. If you dig a hole, make it look like you were never there. Like John said, I mean, that is like, that should be the duh. Like, why would you leave an empty hole? When we went to Boston, my wife and I, we saw so many holes at those 2 circles.
Right. Like, yeah. And it says,
sick.
It says, yeah, I see them all the time around Walcott. And it even says in the book, it's not the fair folks' intention to ruin nature. So just think about that for a second. And here's another thing. This is another thing that was brought up just earlier today before we signed on. Somebody had asked me about a borescope, and this is a great tool which can save you a lot of time digging holes. So if you have your probe, your standard probe, it's going to leave a hole in the ground, yay big, and it's big enough that you can stick a small camera on a gooseneck down there to see if you're actually hitting a piece of plexiglass or a rock or whatever. Matt Sparks and I used one at the Legion of Honor when we dug. I did a video with a borescope like 3-4 years ago or something in Lake Park, right by one of those lions. You can get them at Home Repo or Blows or
Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon. My favorite is always Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight is a great place. It's just a bunch of stuff that fell off a truck that was coming in from Russia, I think.
Hey, so you were talking about how your friend kind of had a permission slip.
Right.
All right. So I think everybody should own a copy of The Secret. Okay. If not this one, the white one, that's fine. It does not matter. Open that book up to the end, page 219. It says The Treasure. Okay. This is exactly what it says. If you believe you have correctly deciphered the clues of any of the fair people's 12 treasures, you may proceed directly to the site you have determined.
Right. Go.
You literally have a permission slip from Byron Price. Just saying.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to take it from me or anyone else. It says right in the book. If you think you know where it is, go there and dig it up.
Be respectful. That's like the number one.
And, John made a comment on the Christmas live stream that he said if Byron was still alive today, that he would probably be egging people on and there might be, trouble from it. So take that as you wish. How you could apply that to locations, that's up to you.
We're not like I wouldn't say we're encouraging people to go dig like all over the place. If you have a real good reason to be in your spot and you believe in it, if you never try it, you're always going to regret it. But when you dig that hole, fill it back in, put the grass back on top like it's brand new.
Look at this guy's picture. He almost looks like James Renner. James Rogers says, what are your thoughts on the unit of measurement that Byron used? Steps, paces? I think he used both words, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
In the Milwaukee verse, ascend the 92 steps. That's actually, we believe referring to physical object steps. Paces. Are there steps in New York too? Take as many.
Yeah, twice as many steps as the hour.
East steps as the hour,
East
right?
Steps, yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, that could be referring to physical steps too. Again, my theory was always fairy secrets come in two. So if he does something once, he's going to do it again in another puzzle. It just kind of verifies that it is a riddle or it is some kind of thing you have to solve. So finding those connections are always good. If you can pair them up, that might help you. Like I've always said that the way he uses the initials in Chicago is going to be very similar to the way he uses them in New York. And something to point out about Chicago that I don't hear this mentioned a lot, but there is a specific riddle in that. M and B and R and L are all proper names.
I hear you. What happened?
What's that?
I couldn't hear you. Now you're back.
Okay, I'm back. Well, what I was saying is that all of the initials in the Chicago puzzle, all four of those initials are all the initials of proper names. So they all share something in common. So that's why when we're looking at New York's a little more difficult because you have a small V and a capital B, I believe. So, you have to kind of take that in stride. I mean, what if it's Beethoven again?
Could be.
Is there an Isle of Beethoven? Who knows? So anyway, we've done about 45 minutes. I think it's good to wrap it up. We don't want to talk too long or do too many of these because then you won't miss us, right?
Yeah, we won't have anything to talk about next time.
Yeah, exactly. So the next time there is something to talk about, if we've noticed enough online chatter or some shattering breakthrough happens, or maybe we just want to talk to you, we'll be back again. As who knows when? You'll just have to stay tuned.
I'll be here.
Okay, so for Dustin, this is JM. We're signing off. Take care, everybody.